All right, everybody, welcome back to possibly the last part of the 2026, LaserDisc collection overview series. This is part 11, so 5, 10, 11. So, again, this actually might be the last part. So, we're going to start with Arnold, and then we'll do Stallone, and then we'll do Jackie Chan, and then it'll be the box set. So, again, depending on how long I yap about Arnold, Stallone, and Jackie, which I said in the last part, so we're reiterating here, we might get to the box sets in this part. If not, we'll just do a quick little part 12, and we'll do all the box sets, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, so let's go ahead. I'm not gonna pull them all out because it's so many. But Arnold. Here is all of the other Schwarzenegger movies that I have. I'm trying to see where it starts. Yeah, it starts here. Okay, so when I did the movies that I haven't watched yet, the only one that I haven't watched is Conan the Destroyer. The only other one that I don't have is The Sixth Day, but that came out in Japan and it's very expensive, so I'm probably not going to have that one for a while, but oh well. So first up, yes, as it says on the cover here, the one that started it all, we have Pumpin' Iron. So this is where people learned who Arnold Schwarzenegger was. Now this is not what made him a star. That would be Conan the Barbarian, and then the Terminator made him a legend. So there you go. But Pumpin' Iron is really interesting because it did the opposite of what they were hoping it was going to do. And what I mean by that is in the movie, they try to make Arnold look like a bad guy and a villain, and people kind of saw through that and was like, no, this guy needs to be like the good guy and the hero, and he looks like Hercules. And of course he had played Hercules, which that movie is terrible, and I don't have it because fuck that movie. So there you go. Like the stuff now, it's all come out now, but you know when he's talking about his father dying and he didn't go to the funeral, that's not true. That was made up for the movie, and again, they tried to make him look like a villain and all that, and it didn't work. But it is a great documentary, and it introduced bodybuilding really to the kind of the public masses, because bodybuilding was still looked at this time as kind of a sideshow carnival thing and everything. So Arnold was really one of the guys to make it what it is. You know, you cannot deny that. And it is in full screen because I believe the movie was actually shot in full screen. And side 2 is CAV. So there you go, because it's only, I think, about 80 minutes here. It doesn't say. Yeah, it's 86 minutes, so a little bit less than 90. Alright, then we have, speaking of Conan the Destroyer, or Barbarian, sorry, that we already talked about that. Conan the Barbarian, my bad. This is a later release of the movie, which was in the letterboxed widescreen format. This was 1991. For whatever reason, this was, I guess, when Terminator 2 came out, they reissued this, maybe. For whatever reason, they never reissued The Destroyer in widescreen. I don't know why. I guess they felt they didn't want to do that or whatever, but the Barbarian did. So there you go. And because, again, the movie is just over 2 hours, side 3 is in the CAV format, which is about the last 10-15 minutes of the movie, and then it does have the trailer at the end to kind of fill out the side, which is very cool. But love Conan the Barbarian. Again, I've said this a million times. When I was younger, I liked Conan the Destroyer more. I don't know. I think I kind of like both equally now. You know, that's just me. And then, of course, you have to have the Terminator on LaserDisc. This is the widescreen release from when Hemdale actually still owned the movie. They put it out through Image Entertainment. Love that artwork on there. Love that classic poster art. This came out in 1991, I believe. Yes. So this was probably, again, when Terminator 2 came out in the theaters. They reissued this. Also on VHS. I do have the VHS counterpart to this, but this is the first widescreen release of the movie on LaserDisc. I think also the last. I think they only did one widescreen release of the film. All the previous releases were in full screen. Some of them, though, are in open matte. I did do a little research on that, so there you go. And at the end of the film, there is a theatrical trailer, which is very cool. That's one thing. I know we already talked about it, but RoboCop, I love that the trailer of RoboCop has the music from the Terminator in it. I always thought that was really cool. And they were made by the same company, so there you go. Then, of course, we have Commando. This is the widescreen release. This one's actually a little bit harder to come by. This is a little bit of a later release. This is the mid-90s, 1996. So LaserDisc was still going on. But this one, for whatever reason, is a little bit harder to get a hold of. I think I had to kind of shop around a little bit. But I did get it sealed. So I did pop that seal on there. And also, they re-released the movie on VHS around this time. And I have that as well, which is very cool. So again, on the back here, you do get some, little plot synopsis. And then it's mostly about Arnold. It's mostly a little write-up about Arnold on here, which is very cool. And there's just the movie, no trailer. I don't know why Fox didn't do that, but oh well. But it does have that classic theatrical artwork on there, which I think most of the home video releases of Commando stuck with that, which is very cool. There is an older CBS Fox release, which is in full screen. It might be an open matte. I'm not sure, but I don't have that one, so there's that. Then we have Raw Deal, which Anchor Bay actually put this out. So there you go. Same with I Come in Peace. I always liked this movie. I always thought this was cool. Is it the greatest movie ever made? No. Is it Arnold's greatest movie? No. But it's a fun little 80s action film. I know the only reason why he did this movie was to get out of his deal with Dino De Laurentiis, but there's some good stuff in there. Robert Davi plays one of the bad guys. Darren McGavin, Kolchak the Night Stalker himself is in this. So you really can't go wrong. And this does have the trailer at the end of the movie, which I don't think any of the DVD or Blu-ray releases out there. Well, the DVD, no. The Blu-ray might. They did not have the trailer on any of the DVD releases. So there you go. It was only on the LaserDisc for a while. Of course, you can find it here on YouTube and such, but you guys know I like it on the disc like it's supposed to be. And then, of course, we have Predator. Gotta have Predator. This is the widescreen release. There is an older full screen release. I want to see what we can see here. This actually does not have a copyright on here. Oh, no, it does. I'm sorry. No wonder I couldn't see it. I was covering it up. 1991. So, again, there is a earlier release of this movie that is in full screen. This is the later widescreen release. But I do like kind of that light green look to the back there, which is very cool. And then, of course, the famous publicity photo of the Predator and Arnold going at it, which, again, is not in the movie. It's just they did a photo shoot. Because I've seen kind of the full frame of that picture, and you could see it was just a sound stage somewhere that they just moved in some trees and everything. But very cool. So cannot go wrong with, as my brother calls it, Predator. So there's that. And then we have The Running Man, which always really enjoyed this movie. Definitely one of his more underrated films. I know Arnold doesn't like it. It looks like a TV show because it's supposed to. Arnold, like, that was the point. You read the script, didn't you? But you guys remember that shitty remake that came out a couple months ago? Yeah, nobody watched it. So there you go. And this is a later 1995 release in widescreen. Again, there is older releases in full screen, but I wanted this one because that's how they shot the movie. So there you go. Unfortunately, just the film, no trailer on here. Then we have Red Heat, which this is a later widescreen release. Always really liked Red Heat, always had fun with it. Again, only the movie, which is weird because a lot of times live home video would put the trailers like they did with Universal Soldier and some other movies, but for Red Heat, they did not. Then we have Twins, which I did get this at that retro place locally. Unfortunately, Twins only came out in full screen on LaserDisc. It might be open matte, I'm not sure. But that's okay. Can't go wrong. Love Twins, definitely. Out of the comedy films that Arnold did, Twins, Kindergarten Cop, and Jingle All the Way were the best ones. Junior, I like Junior for what it is, but To be honest, nobody really wanted to see Arnold pregnant, but there is some good lines in there. I want my lady! Sorry. Then we have Total Recall, which this is a later widescreen release, because again, there is older releases that are in full screen. Again, I do not know if they are open matte or not. But there's that. But can't go wrong with Total Recall. Absolute classic. I just watched Total Recall. I watched Terminator, the Conan movie, slow down, Fob. Think about the words before you say it. I watched the Conan movies. I watched Terminator, Running Man, Total Recall, Eraser, and The Sixth Day recently. So, because I was watching some of these actually, some of these back here, some of the like TV versions and stuff with the commercials. So it's like, yeah, let me change it up a little bit. I've seen the theatrical cuts a million times. Let me watch the TV cuts. Total Recall is interesting because I think there's a couple shots in the TV version that are exclusive to the TV version because of course they had to edit stuff. But one thing that's really interesting is the version that I watch, because you have to remember when they would air on cable, they would have some more stuff in it because they were able to. When they aired on regular TV, if it was on a syndicated movie package or whatever, those had to be further edited. So that's the one I saw. So when he kills Michael Ironside, they're fighting on the elevator, and then he throws him off, and then it cuts, so that just makes it look like that he threw Michael Ironside off the elevator, because they couldn't show his arms coming off and everything. But they moved the line. There's like a wide shot of the elevator going up, and you hear Arnold say, "See what the party Richter." So I thought that was cool. And then when he kills Benny, instead of saying "screw you," because I guess at the time you couldn't say "screw you" on regular TV, he just goes, "Benny, yeah!" They just piped in him screaming. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I know, like, again, now it doesn't matter because when they show movies on TV, they're typically either uncut or they just mute everything. So back in the day when when studios would spend the money to dub in the language and stuff, it was fun. And I love those, like, Die Hard 2, Yippee-Ki-Yay, and Mr. Falcon. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love that? Anyway, moving on. We have Kindergarten Cop, which again also only got a full screen release on LaserDisc, but that's okay. And I never noticed this, but whoever put this sticker on here spelled kindergarten wrong. There's a T at the end and not a D, so there's that. Oh well. But love Kindergarten Cop always. This is another one that was just constantly on TV when I was a kid, and I would always watch it. I remember one time one of my cousins came over. My parents went out. She came over to babysit, and I remember we were watching it. And she's like, you got to go to bed. I'm going to let you watch a little bit. I'm like, okay. So, and when I see her now, I bring that up, and she laughs. So there you go. All right. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Damn it, Stallone. I know you and Arnold didn't get along back in the day, but you have to behave now. All right. Now, this was actually one of the first LaserDiscs that I ever got, on specifically with Arnold. But Terminator 2 Judgment Day, because they made a million of these. Actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Terminator 2 was the highest selling movie on LaserDisc. So there you go. This is one of the many Terminator 2 LaserDiscs which you will see, and there's still more out there that I would actually like to collect. But this is the original widescreen release. They did do a full and widescreen version of this movie when it first came out. This, of course, is the original theatrical version, which I actually prefer this version. I do like the special edition. I do like the director's cut, but I actually prefer the theatrical cut to this. And it's weird because I prefer the special edition to Aliens, and it's the same director, but oh well. But yeah, this is a very, very common title. You can find it for very cheap, wherever you go, because like I said, they made 1 million of these, so they're everywhere you go. But I got this brand new. I just took the shrink wrap and everything off. But like I said, this was one of the first LaserDiscs I ever bought, and also one of the first Arnold movies I ever got, because again, it was so cheap. So there you go. But I always really liked that they chose this shot here for the rear artwork when he's reloading the pistol after shooting the ICE T-1000, which is very cool. So, and Terminator 2 is turning 35 years old this year, which is very crazy to believe, very hard to believe, even though I was not alive. Actually, no, I was. Not when the movie premiered, but when the movie was in theaters, because it was in theaters for quite a while, I was alive, so there's that. But really like the gatefold in here, a lot of great pictures, a lot of great shots in there. And because the movie is over 2 hours, it is on 3 sides. I want to say, actually it's all CLV, which is crazy. So, side 1 is the beginning of the movie to "I swear I will not kill anyone." Side 2 is when they get Sarah out of the asylum to the freeway chase, and then side 3 is the tanker chase to the end of the movie. So there you go. So probably about 45, and then whatever's left over. So there you go. And Terminator 2 again had many releases on LaserDisc. I do have a few more, which are box sets, and then later it was re-released in AC3, and then I think in Japan it had DT. No, I don't think Terminator 2 ever had DTS. Maybe in Japan it did. After, yeah, no, I'm getting myself confused. It had AC3 releases later, and then it had Squeeze. It had a Squeeze release in Japan, which was the full anamorphic widescreen, which that one is very rare, is very hard to come by. So, yeah, there is a AC3 release that came out here in America, which is pretty difficult to get a hold of. And then in Japan, they got a Squeeze release. So, yeah, Terminator 2 has a bunch of LaserDiscs. So there's that. And the LaserDisc that I have here, and I think a couple of the other ones, they had the original CDS sound mix, which people are like, what is that? It was, or CSD or whatever. It was like Cinema Dynamic Sound or something. They were trying to do, maybe it'll say it on here. They were trying to do something different. They were trying to experiment with a different sound mix, but I don't think it lasted long. I think Terminator 2 was, I know it was the first movie to have it, but I think it was one of the only movies to have it. It's not on here, but yeah. Terminator 2, I think it was like CDS or something, Cinema Dynamic Sound, and it didn't last long. And the only kind of modern format that the original DVD had that sound mix, and then all the other DVDs and the Blu-rays, they remixed it. So now we're getting into crazy shit. Just like the original Terminator, the original mono mix, because they could not afford to mix the movie in stereo, is only on, I think, the LaserDisc and the DVD. So the Blu-rays and everything remixed the audio, so you can't even get the original sound mix for Terminator 1 anymore, sadly. There we go. Next up, this was actually the first Schwarzenegger movie that I bought on LaserDisc. Number 1, because it's my favorite, and number 2, because it was so cheap, but Last Action Hero. Now, the reason why I got this on LaserDisc is because the DVD that I had was in full screen. So there you go. And it's funny because today, at the time of this recording, I went out and I found, actually, I didn't buy it because I don't need it, but I did find the original flipper disc of Last Action Hero with the widescreen and the full screen on each side, which was the original print, and then all the subsequent prints after that for DVD just went to full screen, which is the one that I had. So I found that pretty interesting, Hell, maybe I should have picked it up just for a couple bucks. But oh well. But I hate this artwork because the movie flopped in the theater. They went with this shitty Photoshop because Arnold doesn't even use that gun in the movie. That's a 45. Arnold doesn't use a 45. He uses the Desert Eagle. So, completely inaccurate to what he actually used in the film. But again, because the movie flopped, they didn't give a shit about it. They should have just used the theatrical poster art, which was a hell of a lot better. So there's the back. You get all your production notes and everything. And 3 sides because the movie is about 2 hours and 10 minutes. For whatever reason, side 2 is CAV instead of side 3 being CAV, just like they did with The Fugitive, where side 1 was CAV and then side 2 and 3 were CLV. I don't know why they did that. So side 2 is when Danny's playing chicken on the bicycle. Oh shit, it's not going to work. I'm the comedy sidekick. To when Arnold falls into the tar pit. So I don't know. I guess because, again, this is just me guesstimating. I guess because it had the funeral action scene with the helicopter and everything, maybe they felt people wanted to do frame by frame with that, and that's why they made that CAV. Just like with The Fugitive, where the train crash and everything's at the beginning of the movie, maybe they felt people wanted to go frame by frame for that. That could be, my logic there. Maybe just me. But, again, Last Action Hero was always my favorite Schwarzenegger film. Now everybody loves it. It does have a really nice gatefold, which is very cool. Some great pictures in there. Now everybody loves this movie, but it didn't do well when it came out. It was way ahead of its time, but it is what it is, I suppose. Then, of course, we have True Lies, which this is the widescreen release because James Cameron, for whatever reason, lost. This is where he started to lose his fucking mind, and then he shot all Jesus Christ, I almost said Last Action Hero may have. True Lies was shot in open matte. So, for whatever reason, James Cameron did a full screen and a widescreen off of that. I have the movie in open matte as a bootleg, because it only came out as a bootleg. You do get to see a little bit more at the top and the bottom, but it's really not much. But again, this is where he lost his fucking mind, and he did a full screen version of this. He did a full screen version of Terminator 2 for no reason. Again, this was shot in open matte. The Abyss was shot in open matte. But again, you do get more at the top and the bottom, but it's not much, and it's not really anything significant either. So there you go. But this is how the movie played in the theater. This is how the movie is really meant to be looked at. So there you go. And this does have the Dolby Digital AC3 because this was one of the first movies to come out on LaserDisc with that sound mix. And there's even a little write-up on here about Dolby Digital AC3, which is very cool. But since the movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes, of course, it is going to be on 3 sides. And it is a gatefold, which is very cool. And you do get some great pictures in there, some behind-the-scenes photos. Always love this shot of Arnold and Jamie Lee Curtis. Always thought that was really cool. And you do get to fill out side 3, because side 3, I believe, is CLV. It is. You do get the teaser and the trailer at the end of the movie, which is very cool. This was another one that I got very early on because it's cheap. And True Lies is one of my favorite Arnold movies. And this was really the last big hit that he had. So there you go. Because Last Action Hero was a huge flop. Everybody, a lot of people were actually very happy that Last Action Hero flopped because, Terminator 2 at the time was the biggest movie ever. And then, Arnold could really do no wrong, and Arnold was looked at as invincible, and then Last Action Hero came out and flopped. And again, a lot of people were actually very happy that it flopped, because it's like, yeah, like, Arnold loses, and it's like, you're all fucking stupid. But then he bounced back with True Lies. True Lies was a huge hit, and then that was really it. After that, his movies, they did well, but they were never to the heights of what like Terminator 2 had been and such. So there you go. Like this film, but I always loved this movie. So we have Eraser, which is getting a 4K from Warner Brothers. Unfortunately, it probably won't have any extra. Well, here's the funny thing about this. So Eraser came out. It did all right. It didn't do that well in America. It did better overseas. In America, I think it broke even with its budget and such. But the movie went over budget and over schedule because there were changes, and Chuck Russell did not get along with the producers. So Arnold had to act as an intermediary and all this other stuff. You can find out about it online. So this does not, even though this is a later Warner Brothers title, this does not have the AC3 track, which is weird because the later Steven Seagal movies, which didn't make anywhere near what this movie did, had it. So their excuse was, because a lot of people were upset that this did not have AC3, and their excuse was, well, the movie flopped at the box office and we didn't want to spend the time and the money to do an AC3 mix for a movie that we didn't care about. That's actually not true. It's because DVD, that was their excuse. DVD was getting ready to come out, and they were Warner Brothers was really pushing for DVD. So that was the excuse that they had. Now in Japan, I believe the release of Eraser there has the AC3 track. And also, this is one of the most notorious laser rot titles. I think pretty much every copy out there is affected by it. Again, I have not watched this in quite a while. I do remembering it having laser rot, but I don't think it was anything really significant or too bad to where it really fucked up the experience. The worst two that I have is the other copy of Best of the Best, which is right there, and I Come in Peace. Everything else, there might be some speckling here and there. Oh, Unforgiven. The copy of Unforgiven that I have, the audio is really fucked up, I think, on side 3 in the beginning. So there you go. But a lot of people were very pissed that this movie did not get an AC3 track, so Warner Brothers just made up an excuse for it. But love Eraser, always really enjoyed this movie. Crazy that this movie came out 30 years ago. It's really crazy, but I did watch it once already this year. Probably watch it a couple more times. Hell, I might even bust out some of these LaserDiscs, hopefully. Then, of course, we have Jingle All the Way, which this one can get a little pricey, I guess, because it's a Christmas film. I guess because it's a cult classic. I'm not sure, but I think I paid maybe about $30 to get it. I didn't pay anything significant to get this movie, but this one can go for some crazy prices for whatever reason. But definitely my favorite comedy that Arnold did, and my favorite Christmas movie of all time. So there you go. But unfortunately, it didn't really do that well in America. But just because a movie didn't make any money doesn't mean it. Like, there's all these videos here on YouTube now where all these people are like, well, this movie flopped and that movie flopped. Okay, just because a movie flopped doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It could have been bad marketing, bad timing, limited release. There's plenty of movies that do make a lot of money that are fucking terrible. So I don't know what it is with these people now. Sudden Death with Van Damme flopped, and here's why. I know why, because it came out at Christmas. That's why. So I don't need you to tell me what the fuck I already know. But anyway, moving on. And then the last Arnold title that I have here. This one is rare. This one is expensive, but I do actually have End of Days. This was, I believe, if I am not mistaken, let me see if I can find a copyright. It says 2000. I believe this was the last movie that Universal Studios released on LaserDisc in America, and they did not make many of them because this movie was delayed for quite a while, and when they did eventually get released, they did not make the number of LaserDiscs that they said that they were going to, because Universal had given up on LaserDisc and went to DVD. But again, I believe this is the last film. This and American Pie, I think, were the last two movies that they did release on LaserDisc. But this one, when you can find it, it's very expensive. I did pay quite a bit to get this movie on LaserDisc, not as much as The Matrix. But this was pretty expensive to get a hold of. But at the time, I had the money. I was able to do it, and I pulled the trigger on it, and I'm glad that I did. And it does have, I believe, yes, it does have the Dolby Digital AC3 track, because it says it right here. Not because sometimes at the bottom it'll say it with the universal titles, but with this one it doesn't. It says it on the off to the side here. But this actually looks fucking awesome on LaserDisc. I did watch this a couple years ago. Need to watch it more often, on LaserDisc. I try to watch this movie every New Year's Eve because it is a New Year's Eve movie. This and Ghostbusters 2 make a great double feature. And also I think I did watch this around Halloween because this is one of the more horror-oriented movies that Arnold did, like the first Terminator, like Predator, so I try to watch those. But it actually looks pretty fucking awesome on LaserDisc. And even though my player can't do AC3, the analog mix is fucking awesome and incredible. So there's that. So now that I did a half an hour on Arnold, let's try to do a half an hour on Stallone. We'll see. So there's that. All right. First up, we have the original release of Rocky from 20th Century Fox Video. Very cool release here. I'd never seen this picture before I bought this LaserDisc, but yeah, this is the original 1982 release of Rocky here, which is very cool, and it is in the full screen format. It might be open matte, I'm not sure. And weirdly enough, the movie is 2 hours, and they did shove it on one disc. So the re-release of Rocky, which we'll see here in a moment, is not. But I guess they either sped the movie up or did what they had to do to get it all on one disc. But very cool release. I do have the sequels, at least the first couple sequels of Rocky, in the same kind of configuration there. And then again, I do have the re-release of Rocky, where they clearly photoshopped Stallone's head on someone else's body. So there you go. But this is the deluxe letterbox release, which this, I believe, came out in 1996. Or no, 1998, so it's even later. But this is a late title, and this one is pretty hard to come by at this point. This one is pretty significant if you can get it. Luckily, when I got it, it was cheap because, again, this was at the time when nobody was really getting into LaserDisc, except, again, maybe, the five of us that were. But I did not know this until later. This actually has the Dolby Digital AC3 track, but it was one of those titles, they call them the stealth titles. When they released it, they didn't tell people that it had AC3. You would have to look on the back, and it would tell you, oh yeah, this has Dolby Digital AC3 on here. So, it is one of those titles that they snuck in that mix there. So that's why people want to get this one, because it has that sound mix. But I got it because this is in widescreen. I just thought, oh, well, they re-released it later in widescreen. I had no clue, again, that this had an AC3 mix until I was told. Actually, I was watching a video here on YouTube, and the guy was like, yeah, it has a Dolby Digital AC3. I was like, what? I had no idea. So I went online, went on LaserDisc database, and yes, it is true. This is the only release that had that. And unfortunately, this is the only Rocky movie that did get a widescreen release. The sequels, none of the sequels did, which is a shame. And you got a really cool gatefold in there, a lot of great shots. Here's your cast list and your chapter stops. And because, again, the movie is just about 2 hours, they did kind of the right thing here, and they put it on side 3 is CAV, which is the fight. The fight is everything on the entire side 3 is the fight. And then you do get the trailer at the end of the movie. So I like that they did that. And also they did put that in the full CAV format, so you could do frame by frame for the fight scene, which is very cool. So yeah, again, it's about, Rocky is about 2 hours, the first one. Actually, I think it's really just that one. I think maybe Rocky Balboa is 2 hours, but the rest of them are less than 2 hours. But, you could put it on one disc and be okay, but I do like that they put this on 2 discs, and then side 3 was just the final, the fight between him and Apollo, and you could frame by frame that, which is very cool. All right, speaking of Rocky 2, or Rocky sequels, here is Rocky 2 original release. Again, never saw that picture before I bought this LaserDisc. And once again, 1982 release here. They did re-release Rocky 2 and 3 and 4 when MGM fully got control of them. But they were all, again, in the full screen format. So probably better transfers, but I'm good with these, to be honest. I love the Rocky movies, don't get me wrong, but if they're not in widescreen, I'm really not interested. So there you go. And then, of course, we have Rocky 3. Can't go wrong with Rocky 3. And there's that. So I guess, because this says 1982 as well, I guess when this came out, they finally put out the first 2 movies on LaserDisc. I think Rocky 1 and 2 may have also come out on CED. Maybe Rocky 3 did. Not that I have an interest, because CED is awful. So there's that. And then, of course, we have First Blood. This is the original HBO release. I want to say Image. No, Image did not do this. Image did the sequels, I think. But yeah, this is the original release with the classic theatrical artwork there. It is in full screen again. It may be open matte. It may not be open matte. I'm not sure. But there's that. And then I do have... So I have the Rambo movies in full screen and widescreen. So then, because later on they re-released them in widescreen, I did get the widescreen release, which I love the art on here. That's awesome. And there's the back, which is even awesomer, or whatever, whatever word you want to use, which is cool. And this was 1994 is when I think all 3 of these came out. They reissued the Rambo trilogy at the time in the widescreen format. And this shot here... I think that's just a publicity photo where Rambo's holding the cup of coffee, because there is a deleted scene which, for whatever reason, has never come out, where Rambo goes into this diner to try to get food, and they don't want to serve him the food, and then they want to charge him for like napkins and stuff. Like, I've never seen it. Apparently, when the movie first came on TV, that scene was in there, and then they took it out for some reason. All the other deleted scenes you can find here on YouTube, but that's the one I can't find. Hopefully, one of these days it will surface. We'll see what happens. Then I have, again, the original Rambo First Blood Part 2. Oh, I'm sorry, HBO actually put this one out as well. Classic artwork there. I also... we'll get to it when we get to VHS, but I do have the old HBO release of Rambo First Blood Part 2 on VHS with all the trailers at the end, which is very cool. I had that way back in the day. I had that. That was the first time I owned Rambo First Blood Part 2 on physical media, and then I got rid of it, and then I got it back again. So there you go. And then the other movies I have, there's a box set that came out that I have, but... Enough about VHS. We got plenty of time to talk about VHS later on. And then we have the widescreen re-release. Again, classic artwork there, which of course was the cover of the Nintendo game and everything else, which is very cool. So there you go. None of these have the trailers, though. I figured maybe they would have put the trailers on there to kind of fill the disc out, but oh well. Then, of course, we have Rocky 4. CBS Fox release, which, like I said, again, MGM did re-release them, but they're only in full screen. I don't know why, though. Like, again, the first Rocky, maybe they, at the time, because it was 98, maybe like, fuck it, DVD, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. Doesn't matter, I guess. Then we have Cobra, which only came out in the full screen version as well. But old school Warner Home Video release here. I like that it says LaserDisc and then Adult Action when they would put those on the VHS tapes. But there you go. Classic shot of Stallone there. Good stuff. But yeah, this only came out in the full screen version as well. Then we have Over the Top, which again has that classic Warner Brothers look with the strip or whatever on the side. This one only came out in full screen as well. Now, granted, Over the Top didn't really do that well, so, it is what it is, but that was their motif. Then I have the original release of Rambo 3. Again, this one was the only one that Image Entertainment put out. Well, no, maybe, I don't know. I have to look that up. I could have sworn that they also did Rambo, the first two Rambo movies, but I could be wrong. I actually got this local. I was at the place today where I picked this up many years ago, but got this at a local antique mall. Like I said, I went there earlier today. Got some cool stuff, which you'll see. And then the widescreen release of Rambo. Love that artwork. And the tagline. The first was for himself. The second was for his country. This time, it's to save his friend. I always just really enjoyed that tagline of the movie. And Rambo 3, again, yes, I know he helped the Taliban, but you have to also realize it's a movie. It's not real. It's not like Rambo really helped bad guys. But Rambo 3 was always my favorite. So, there's that. All right. Then we got Rocky 5. Go for it. Go for it. Which, yeah, Rocky 5 only had a full screen release as well. Rocky 5 is not as bad as people say it is. I never understood the hatred for it. I never really got it. I get what they were trying to do with the movie. They were trying to show that you can have everything in the world, you can have all the money and everything, but you can lose it just like that. I get what they were doing. Maybe they should have fleshed that out a little bit more, but I do like Rocky 5. The work print is better. The work print version is better. They should have released that version, but they did not. So I do have that one on DVD somewhere in here. So there's that. Then we have the Pioneer Special Edition Deluxe CAV version of Cliffhanger, which is the movie that saved his career at this point. So there you go. There is Sony did their own release of Cliffhanger. I do not have that one because this one is better. This one has all the extra features and everything, and it's a really nice version. Pioneer did a couple of these special edition releases. This is the only one that I have, and I think it's the only one that I want. I think they did Basic Instinct and a couple other movies because they had to deal with Carolco. But this one, yeah, this is the only one I want because it's fucking Cliffhanger, which is awesome. So you get some great production notes and some photos on the back there. You do get, it is the CAV format, so you can do the whole movie in frame by frame, which is very cool. There is the commentary with Stallone and Rennie Harlan, which of course made it to the DVDs and the Blu-ray releases. You get the introduction by Rennie Harlan. You get the making of on here, behind the scenes look at shooting in the Alps of Italy, 2 deleted scenes, outtakes, trailers, and more. Of course, everything from here made it to the DVDs and the Blu-rays, so this does not have anything exclusive to this release. But it's still cool to have, and it is a double gatefold, so it opens up here. You get some couple shots from the movie, and then a really cool behind-the-scenes shot of the opening of the film, how they shot, part of that on a sound stage and everything, which is very cool. And then, of course, that classic shot, which was used in a lot of the overseas promotional material, not so much here in America. And then you get a note from Rennie Harlan and a combination of shots from the movie and some behind the scenes shots as well. So very, very cool stuff. So because the movie is just about 2 hours, it does fill up the first 2 discs of the release here, the first 4 sides. Side 5 and 6 is all the extras. Again, you get the introduction from Rennie Harlan, the making of Cliffhanger, behind-the-scenes material, deleted scenes, special effects footage, the trailer, storyboards, outtakes, all that stuff. And again, nothing that is exclusive to this release. It's all stuff that made it elsewhere, but it's fucking Cliffhanger. Come on now. And then, of course, we have Demolition Man, which is my favorite non Rocky Rambo Stallone movie. So if we're talking just kind of the singular movies, or maybe it got a sequel, here or there, like Expendables, Demolition Man was always my favorite. And no, it does not have Dolby Digital AC3 because it didn't exist yet. And Jackie Chan wants to do his own thing, but it's okay. It's no big deal. But at least it is in widescreen. It is in the letterbox. So very cool. Not the litter box, the letterbox. There's that. Then we have The Specialist, which I always liked this movie. Sharon Stone was still absolutely smoking hot in this movie before she lost her goddamn mind, which is why nobody wants to be around her, but, she did it to herself. But around this time, she was absolutely one of the most beautiful women on the planet. I don't think anybody would disagree, and you get to definitely see a little bit of that in this movie, which apparently she wanted to do it first, then she didn't want to do, and then she wrote this book and she complained about everybody and how everybody took liberties with her. No. That's not true. You did it to yourself. Anyway, again, widescreen format here, but very cool stuff. And James Woods, Eric Roberts, and Rod Steiger as your villains. Can't go wrong. And when I met Eric Roberts, I did bring that up, and he said, we had a great time making that movie. He said Stallone is, very hands-on, and he's great to work for. When he said when I did Expendables, he was a great director, but I loved working with him. I was like, very cool. Then we have Judge Dredd, which I don't know why. Well, I know why, because the movie didn't do well. But they did this stupid artwork with this computer chip in the background, the motherboard of the computer, instead of just giving us the poster art. But whatever. It is what it is. It's because the movie didn't do well. I'm allergic to the bullshit that they did that. So there you go. And then you get the back. Now, it is in widescreen. And this does have Dolby Digital AC3. So at least it has that going for it. In the words of Bill Murray from Caddyshack. And then we have Assassins. Always enjoyed this one. A little bit of a slow burner, but always quite like this film. Him and Antonio Banderas going at it. And it's directed by Richard Donner. You can't go wrong. So there's that. And Julianne Moore, before she lost her goddamn mind as well. She's another fucking idiot in Hollywood, like most of them. So there's that. But these two guys aren't. So there you go. And of course, because the movie is over 2 hours, side 3 is in the CAV format, which is about the last 20 minutes of the movie or so. So there you go. But quite like that film. Unfortunately did not do well. But I like it. A little bit of a slow burner, more of a cat and mouse type of movie, but not bad. And then the last Sly Rocky Rambo Stallone, as Joe Bob Briggs calls him, LaserDisc, we have here is for Copland, which this is significant because I'll tell you in a moment, but it is in widescreen, and I believe it says Dolby Digital. It might have the AC3 track because it is Disney. They did support that format. But the reason why this LaserDisc is significant is because the commentary track with the director, James Mangold, which apparently Stallone said was the best director he ever worked with. So, but better than Richard Donner? I don't know. Anyway, but I do like James Mangold's work. But there is a commentary track with him on here, which is different from the one that's on the DVD and the Blu-ray. It's only on this LaserDisc, so this is significant to have in your collection. And then at the end of the movie, there is 4 deleted scenes. I think those were the scenes that they ended up putting in the director's cut later on, which actually, I do like the theatrical version. I actually enjoyed the director's cut of Copland more. That's just me. But great movie. Always really enjoyed that movie ever since I first saw it. It did okay. It made money. It made a profit. But I think it was more that they were looking at the film as Stallone's going to win an Oscar. You know what I mean? And it didn't happen, and people were disappointed. But It is a really solid film. If you have not seen Copland, I don't know what you guys have been doing for almost 30 years, but it's a pretty damn good movie as far as I'm concerned. And again, I really have always really enjoyed it. I think it's one of Stallone's best performances. Ray Liotta, God rest his soul, is great in it as well. De Niro, before he became retarded, is great. Harvey Keitel, Robert Patrick. There's so many great actors in that movie. And they all put on amazing performances. So if you've sleeping on some of these movies I've been talking about, I don't know what you guys have been doing, but come on now. I've been preaching to the choir here. And then we have, if the box sets want to behave, I have some of the other Jackie Chan movies here. So first up we have Dragons Forever, which came out from good old Tai Sang, which is in the letterbox format. And you can win Jackie Chan's jacket, but the contest ended in 1999, so I don't think we can get in on that, guys. Sorry. I was going to share it with you guys, but I don't think it's going to happen. Yes, this only has the Cantonese track on here. I thought this one had the English track, but it doesn't. But at the end of the movie, you do get, there's deleted scenes, and then you get the trailers for The Young Master, Wheels on Meals, and the Hong Kong and American trailer for Dragons Forever. And actually, when I got this, I got it pretty cheap. This was really the only way to see the movie here in America. It had not come out on Blu-ray yet from 80. I don't even think 88 Films existed yet. But yeah, this was the only way to get this movie, I think. And Tai Sang also did a VHS, which I believe I have that as well. I think I found that locally somewhere, maybe at a thrift store or something. And I went on eBay and got this because it was the only way to see the film here in the States. And then we have my favorite Jackie Chan movie, Super Cop, aka Police Story 3. This is the Criterion Collection, because they actually put this one. This was the only Jackie Chan movie they put out, sadly. It has the original Virgin Megastore stickers on there, which is very cool. And I think these are they're a little bent. Well, that might have happened again when I had these in storage, too, because everybody just kind of threw all my shit in boxes and didn't care about my stuff. So, I'm not going to hold it against anybody. So there's that. Anyway. Sorry about that. But there's the back, and this does have it has the English dub on the digital track. I think it has AC3. It says Dolby Digital, so it might actually have AC3. And then it does have the Cantonese track as well. But I think when you put it in, it plays the English track automatically, if I'm not mistaken. And I think, no, this is the American version of the film too. My bad, because it has all the songs in it, like the Dimebag Darrell song, "Cage in a Rage," and all that is on here, which I do like that song. Cage in a Rage, Cage in a Rage. What else? Oh, it does have the deleted scenes that they cut out for the American version, trailer and TV spots as well. So yeah, I got some cool stuff on here. But yeah, this was the only movie, the Criterion Jackie Chan movie that they put out. You would have figured they would have done some more, but I guess not. And then we have Rumble in the Bronx, which I got this one. I did not pay $39.99 or $28. I paid $3 for it. I did get this one at the Retro Place locally here, which is very cool. But this is the movie that Jackie Chan finally broke in America, and I would love to know the story behind that. I would love to know why New Line chose this movie and how that happened. And this one's being held hostage, I guess, by Warner Brothers, which is why it's never gotten a super duper deluxe Blu-ray. But these are the stories that I would love to hear. Why specifically was this movie chosen, and all that stuff. Or maybe somebody should write a book about it. I don't know. And then they also had this one. I think, I got both of these from the same spot. I think the same day I was there. This one was $3. For some reason, Jackie Chan's First Strike was $10, but oh well. But this is Police Story 4. This was the last of kind of the original Police Story movies. But always really enjoyed this one. I remember seeing it, I think, maybe when it first came out on VHS here in America. Maybe we rented it. I don't really remember. But always really enjoyed this movie as well. Sadly, again, the same deal where I guess Warner Brothers still owns Rumble in the Bronx, First Strike, and Mr. Nice Guy, though, when they put it out, they actually gave it, they put out I think the Japanese version of the movie, not the original Hong Kong version, but the Japanese version for some reason. But I guess they're still holding those movies hostage. So hopefully one day, specifically Rumble in the Bronx, I would love to know, again, the story, why specifically that movie was chosen and everything to get the treatment, and, why it was successful and such. But we'll see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I will cut this part a little shorter because we're close to the hour mark, and then we will just wrap up in part 12 with the box sets. So we'll do that, and then we'll be done. So part 12, I don't think it'll be an hour, but we'll get through these box sets next time. And then that'll be it. And then I will be done talking about LaserDiscs for now. There will be more LaserDisc talk in the future, but as of now, this will be all. And we'll go from there. So anyway, as always, thank you for watching. Take care, and we will talk to you guys in part 12. And we'll see you soon. Later.